couple Boston Bruins players are excelling at the World Championship, and I'm going to answer a few of your mailbag questions on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B, as well as take a look around the NHL. Today is Tuesday, May 24th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day. The podcast is free and available on all podcasts platforms, as well as on YouTube, so please do smash that subscribe button. Each new episode will be automatically added to your feeds for you to download, listen, watch, and enjoy. If you could also rate and review, that would be so very much appreciated. If you're on Twitter, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. Speaking of Twitter, yesterday's episode was all about my Brad Marchand trade exploration tweet and his response over the weekend. So if you want to go back and check that out, it's in your feeds. And on my Twitter this morning, or last night actually, I shared a shot of Kristen Hayes' Instagram stories where Todd Angeli went to her house and sang the national anthem for her son Bo in their mini stick rink in the basement. And it was amazing to see. Huge shout out to Todd for making time for that. And it's amazing to see the hockey community continue to rally around the Hayes family following the passing of Jimmy last summer. So all love to Todd, to the Hayes family. Do check that out if you haven't seen it already. It's going around everywhere. Now to start today's podcast, I wanted to check in on some Bruins players who are at the World Championship. Jeremy Swayman, David Pastrnak, both made their way over to Helsinki to represent the United States. Swayman, Czechia, in the case of David Pastrnak, and the preliminary round is wrapping up today. In fact, as I record, the American team taking on Norway, they're up 2-0. Czechia will play later today against Finland. Both those teams will be moving on to the preliminary, or to the quarterfinals, as Czechia sits third in their group and USA is currently fourth. Quarterfinals, it will be, of course, 8 teams moving on. So unless Latvia overtakes Team USA, then they will be in the quarterfinals. And Jeremy Swayman has been a huge addition to the American team. Heading into today's action, he had appeared in 3 games already, and he was boasting a 0.99 goals against average and a save percentage of 94.55 with 1 shutout to his credit. So Jeremy Swayman, after coming in Game 3 of the first round series against the Hurricanes, he played very well in that series, played well enough in Game 7 to give the Bruins a chance to win. He's gotten over and just been one of the better goaltenders at the World Championship. He's third in terms of save percentage, second, I believe, in goals against average. So good on him for, taking advantage of this opportunity and representing his country in a big, big way. Now, when it comes to David Pastrnak, he has gone over there. He's played in 3 games so far heading into today's action, and he has 5 points so far in those 3 games. I believe 3 goals, 2 assists. He has jumped on Czechia's top line with David Krejci, who has 1 goal, 6 assists through 6 games, and veteran forward Roman Cervenka, 36-year-old, who has 3 goals, 8 assists heading into today's action. He ranked, I believe, 3rd in overall scoring heading into today's action. Second, actually. He was 1 point behind Dennis Malgin. So an incredible performance for him so far. And, of course, he's been boosted by David Krejci and David Pastrnak. Now, a lot of people have watched Pasta and Krejci go nuts over there together. It's a joy to see them playing together. A lot of people saying, bring Krejci back. Look at how good these guys are together. I still don't see a Krejci return. He, uprooted his family in order to move back to his hometown, to be closer to his parents, to his extended family. I can't see him uprooting them and coming back. But that's just one man's opinion. And, a lot of you have been vocal in letting me know that my opinions have been wrong as of late, or one specific opinion. Anyways, would love to see it, but I don't see it happening. The quarterfinals for the World Championships will begin on Thursday, and of course, we'll keep you up to date on what Swayman and Pastrnak are able to accomplish over there. It looks like Swayman has given up a goal here in this USA-Norway game. Latvia already lost this morning, so they will be not moving on. USA will be, regardless of what happens in this game. And same with the Czechs, who are playing Finland later on today. We'll keep you up to date on what Swayman and Pastrnak are able to accomplish over there. In the meantime, I want to talk for a moment about Built Bar. I don't know about you, but I love brownies. You know what I love more? Brownie batter. Sometimes I eat half the batter just while I'm making the brownies. Imagine if you could lick that brownie spatula clean and get some protein in. Well, you're in luck, because Built has a new creation, and this one is better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. Brownie Batter Protein Bar. The Puff takes protein bars to a whole new level, and they're available right now at Built.com. You can get about 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, 7 grams of sugar in the Brownie Batter Puff. They're the perfect pick-me-up for any day of the week. They're covered in 100% real chocolate. That means you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. They're also made with a collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently. It provides tons of benefits. Go to Built.com right now. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. Now, every week or so here on the Locked On Bruins podcast, I like to take your questions and answer them. Hadn't made a formal call for questions, but a lot of you have been sending some in, so I thought that I would answer them on today's show. The first one came from Mike B at MDB82, and he asked last week, this might be a mailbag question for a future pod, but what are the chances the Bruins buy out Foligno's contract in the offseason? It would be about $1.8 million to do so, or did they give him another year to figure it out? I think this is partly contingent on what Patrice Bergeron decides to do. Patrice Bergeron was instrumental in bringing Nick Foligno to the Boston Bruins. He advocated on his behalf, pitched him on coming to Boston, and he signed for 2 years, probably thinking, hoping that Bergeron would be there for the duration of that contract. And if Bergeron, pitched him, perhaps that was part of it. Now, he doesn't know exactly what he's going to do. If Bergeron retires, I guess it could go one of two ways. You keep Foligno on for that added leadership boost. He's a veteran. He's a former captain. Obviously not very productive in his first season as a member of the Boston Bruins. In fact, he recorded 2 goals and 11 assists in 64 games for the Bruins this season. 13 points, his lowest output of his career. Last season with the Blue Jackets and the Maple Leafs, he had 20 points. In the postseason, he managed only 1 assist, and I believe that was on an empty net goal scored by Curtis Lazar. So do you bring him back at $3.8 million, or do you buy him out? I, again, think that's dependent on if Bergeron comes back. If he does, they'll probably bring Foligno back, but if not, yeah, it's very much a possibility that he could be bought out. And if that were to happen, it would save them $2 million against the cap, and they'd be on the hook for that $1.8 million. That would, of course, bleed into next season as well, I believe, but I'd have to get the particulars on that via Cap Friendly. At any rate, I do believe it depends on what Patrice Bergeron decides at the end of the day, if he wants to come back, if he believes Nick Foligno, is a valuable member of the Boston Bruins, then perhaps he would come back. Now, say they do buy it out, there would be a 2-year buyout length penalty. The total cost would be $1.866667 million. The cap hit would be 1.93 next season, and then $933,000 the year after. So they would carry this for 2 seasons and be on the hook for $2.866 million against the cap over the next 2 seasons. So they would save almost a couple million this season. 1.867 to be precise. But then the season after that, they would be on the hook for $933,000 against the cap. So, I mean, certainly worth exploring for sure. Next question came from Andrew Pajak at Andrew Pajak. If Bergeron retires and the Bruins go all in, could you see them making a trade for Jonathan Toews? I've seen that floated around a little bit. Jonathan Toews, of course, is a player of a similar skill set who appeared in 71 games for the Chicago Blackhawks this season, 12 goals, 25 assists. Toews has a very expensive contract, so the Blackhawks would have to retain some salary for that to be a possibility. He has 1 year remaining, $10.5 million. Again, I could potentially see that happening. If you're going to poach someone from the Blackhawks, you'd probably want Patrick Kane instead. He also has 1 year remaining on his deal at an identical $10.5 million cap hit. And he is much better than Jonathan Toews. Although Toews does play center, could slide in for Bergeron, but he's not really a one center at this point in his career. He's a former Selke winner, but he's not on the same level as Patrice Bergeron. So it's possible, but again, if Bergeron retires, you're not going to be able to fully replace him with anyone. There's nobody like him still. Colin Thompson asked, do you think the Bruins are going to be better next season? I'd probably say no at this point. They had a 100-point season. And again, it all depends on whether Bergeron comes back. If he retires, no, they're not going to be better. If he comes back, I think they'll probably still be in that wild card range. All the playoff teams in the East this season were over 100 points. So, it was a pretty even field. But I don't see them moving up to the level of the regular season Panthers, the Maple Leafs, the Hurricanes. I don't know if they'll be much better next season. And obviously that's contingent on, do they make a change with the coaching staff? Do they make a trade? Do they make a big signing? It's hard to say at this point. It'll be easier to make that assessment once training camp comes around. Colin also asked, what is your Stanley Cup final prediction? I had said before the playoffs, I picked the Calgary Flames to come out of the West, New York Rangers to come out of the East. Both of those teams are currently down in their respective series. Going to stick to that until they're out, but right now, I'd probably say Colorado and Tampa Bay. The way Andrei Vasilevsky's playing, it's really hard to imagine them not coming out of the East at the moment. Thanks for those questions, and I'll send out a formal call for questions at a later date and begin to answer those, as well as reach out to have some more friends on here, media members, so that you're not stuck just listening to me every day. Now, speaking of the Colorado Avalanche, they won last night against the St. Louis Blues. And the reason I'm talking about this is because of the overarching storyline in that series with respect to Nazem Kadri colliding with Jordan Binnington in Game 3. That left the Blues goalie injured, out for the remainder of the series, while Kadri has been dealing with racism, death threats as a result of that incident. Kadri went out last night, recorded a hat trick in St. Louis, given a little of the old Hulk Hogan hand to the ear to the St. Louis Blues crowd. I heard Ron McLean kind of saying that was taunting, you're just fueling the fire. But I think Kadri had every right to react in that way. And after the game, he said, "For those that hate, that was for them." It was Akeem Aliu who had brought forward the news that Kadri had been dealing with this racism. They had to have extra security at the hotel. His wife posted some stories on Instagram showing some of the things that people were saying. And it's absolutely disgusting. St. Louis Blues head coach Craig Berube said no comment about all of that. He easily could have come out and condemned that racism, kind of thrown some water on those embers, but he didn't, and that's a shame. Avalanche captain Gabriel Landeskog said he'd like the Blues to help diffuse the anger, calling the collision accidental. And Kadri wasn't happy with Berube for his remarks following Game 3, suggesting he deliberately intended to injure Binnington. And again, he drew criticism from fans on social media for declining to comment about the racist threats aimed at Kadri prior to Game 4. From my perspective, there is no place for racism. It's an emotional game, but that's not an excuse to act in this way. In fact, it's more of a character revealer in some ways. Our true natures can tend to rise in these moments, and it's not a blip. If you're spewing racism at Nazem Kadri, that's who you are. And if hockey is for everyone, then we need to condemn that every chance we get. Elsewhere around the NHL last night, the Florida Panthers eliminated by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Highest scoring team in the NHL this season. They managed only 3 goals in 4 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And disappointing finish for the Panthers. And it could mean the end of the road for Joe Thornton. He only played in 34 games this regular season. Made his postseason debut in Game 4. There was an uncorroborated report claiming several of the Panthers were partying in Tampa Bay at a strip club following the Game 3 loss on Sunday. Andrew Burnett denied that. But who knows? Certainly a possibility. Anyways, I believe that's it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Really do appreciate all the support. For those of you who had fun with the Brad Marchand stuff, thank you for that. For those of you who vehemently disagree with me, well, you're probably not listening anyways, but it's just hockey after all, so let's just have some fun with it. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you again tomorrow here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm excited tonight to check out the mid-season Better Call Saul finale, and one of the best shows on TV, one of my favorite shows of all time, and can't wait to see how that wraps up. Say goodbye to Bessie. Have a great day, Bess, and we'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.